My sisters and brothers, the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Good News of Jesus Christ according to St. Matthew. Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer greatly from the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed on the third day and then be raised. Then Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him. "God forbid, Lord, no such thing shall ever happen to you." He turned and he said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You're an obstacle to me. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what can one give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come with his angels in his Father's glory, and then he will repay all according to his conduct." The good news of our salvation.
Thanks be to God.
And so, my brothers and sisters, what's happening right now at the university, students are gradually moving in. They call it staging, so they're coming in different groups each day. And I know that some parents join us for the Mass, and I'm going to refer to a particular story, and I'm hoping that parent is not watching this. But anyway, 2 days ago, what happened was, when kids are coming, especially first-year students, they're a little bit nervous. But what I'm finding, sometimes the parents are more nervous than the students, right? And so the other day, what happened was this particular kid he was really nervous about coming and starting the newness and so on and so forth. So his mother says to him, I won't say the name, she says, "This is the best school in the United States." She says, "The food is wonderful. It's just great. Faculty, just the best, and the staff, they're just such loving, beautiful people all of the time," and so on and so forth. And so she calms him down by saying all of that. Well, the next day, this kid stopped by my office, and I said to him, "I don't know how to tell you this, but your mother lied." I says, "Life isn't like that. There's no perfect place in this world, but there's no free lunches. And on some level, we're all looking, myself included, I want the free lunch. And I wish that life was that way. But it just isn't. It has its ups and its downs and its bumps and so on and so forth. There's a story of the optimist and the pessimist. The optimist gets up and says, "Good morning, God." And the pessimist gets up and says, "Good God morning." And then they walk outside and they see a flower, and the optimist goes, "Look at the beautiful flower." And the pessimist says, "Well, there must be a grave under here someplace or other." And so at the Christmas time, the parents wanted to cure the optimist and the pessimist, their two sons. And so for the pessimist, they had a room full of toys. And the optimist, a room full of manure, right? So Christmas morning comes and they go into the room where the pessimist is, and he's afraid to play with the toys. He's afraid to get hurt. The optimist is in there throwing the manure up in the air, making little pies and spreading all over. And the mother says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, with this much manure in this pile, there must be a pony underneath this pile someplace or other, right?" Now, I want to suggest that we're neither optimist or pessimist. Both are very skewed and stilted. And I would suggest that both have a script written already. Neither is open to God's surprises. And it would seem to me that what we're called to is a radical faith, rather than everything is just wonderful all the time, or everything is just awful all the time. Neither one of those things is true. And so when I talk about a radical faith, what do I mean by it? And I love the definition of Frederick Buechner, and he calls faith whistling in the dark. whistling in the dark. And to my mind, as we journey through life on good days and bad days, we're whistling in the dark. And the key lesson, I think, from a faith perspective is we don't know all the answers, and we live with a lot of questions. But underneath the piles is where God's love is. And there's a definition I just read last night of a word about God's faithfulness. And what I read last night was that this word in the Hebrew text is really God's tenacious solidarity with us. God's tenacious solidarity with us. That God is with us in the midst of it all, whatever it is that happens. Now, we see in the readings today, I have friends in Jeremiah and in Peter, right? Jeremiah, and by the way, when John did the reading, we weren't typecasting by choosing him to do the reading. But basically, Jeremiah, he gets up and says, God, you duped me. You duped me. What have you done to me? So Jeremiah is complaining. And listen, you can't tell me that we don't have moments like that. God, you duped me, right? What are you doing to me? Why is this going on? So what Jeremiah is saying is very real. It's an aspect of life. And Peter in the gospel text, you know, Peter, when Jesus says that I have to go to Jerusalem to suffer, to take up a cross, oh no, God, no, Jesus, you're not going to go there. You're not going to go there. And Jesus then says the harshest words I think he says in the entire New Testament, get behind me, Satan, because I need to go there. And he said, so do you. Because anyone who wants to be my follower must first take up his cross and follow after me. Now, as I said at the beginning of the Mass, I'm not doing cheerleaders for the cross. I mean, who in their right mind is looking for cross and pain and suffering? You don't go looking for it. It finds you one way or the other. And I leave you with this symbol. I'd like to show you this cross here, this little wooden cross that comes from Jerusalem. And I brought this cross with me because it really, as I was reflecting on the reading, summarizes what I'm trying to say. This is what happened. On this, by the way, I've been to Jerusalem 18 times, so I'm kind of one of the regulars around there. So I was actually walking outside the old city, and this person who was carving these crosses out of olive, I don't know why he picked me, but he did. He goes, here, I want you to have this cross. I says, really? And I said, well, why? He said, I don't know. I think you're supposed to have it. And then I went to, give him like some money. No money. I don't want any money, but I want you to have this. So this cross is important to me because it's a symbol. I didn't go looking for this. But it found me. And that's really about the ups and downs of life, right? That the cross will come. And if you want to be my follower, take up your cross and walk in my footsteps. Because there is no other way of growing in the Christian life unless we embrace the cross. Our instinct is to run away from it, right? And I want to propose to you that the challenge of the readings today is don't run away. Don't run away from the cross. Embrace it, because that is where you will find God, and that's where you will find new life and growth.